Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is another story time. I had a story time from before and I know it's been a while and I've been seeing we want more. So as promised, here's another story time. And I just want to start off by saying this is not clickbait, okay? Unfortunately, sadly, I was catfished. Okay, I'm just gonna start off by saying that it happened. Am I ashamed? It's been some years, so I guess that's why I'm finally able to tell my story. Okay, it's still like I find it more funny than anything now, but at the time I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed. I don't even remember if I told anybody. I think I only told my sister, and it has been about 10 years since it happened. At the time, my sister was still a teenager, like literally in high school, so she probably didn't even understand, the magnitude of it. But enough about that, let me get right into the story. So I'm going to be showing my age a little bit, but I was on Craigslist. Okay, so this is where I found this person. It was on Craigslist. What I was doing on Craigslist in my early 20s, I don't know. A little crazy, I know, especially with all the stories you hear about being on Craigslist. Like just the craziness. And then, to get more serious, like a lot of not so nice stuff on Craigslist, but I don't know what I was doing on there. I will say though, I did meet like a female friend on there, and we're still friends to this day. We've been friends for about 6 years, 5 6 years, and I did meet her on there, and she's not crazy. Okay, we're still friends to this day. And I had actually met a friend before too, but just due to life circumstances, and she lived a little bit further out of the city. Their relationship kind of broke down, but it wasn't any one specific situation. Anyways, just to say that there was some good that did come from Craigslist. But yeah, so with the situation, I was on there because, early 20s, my idea was that I was going to be married, living in a house, and have my first child by the time I was 25. And boy, was I wrong. Time was ticking, getting closer to that, being my early 20s. So I was like, I don't know where to find people. Like, I wasn't going to go and sign up for eHarmony or whatever was popular at the time. There wasn't any dating apps like Tinder like there is now. So I had heard about Craigslist, and that's why I went on there. They had oh my goodness, was it a classified? Yeah, the classified section. So someone had told me about that, and I was like, oh, okay. So I think I had met a few guys in person from there, but none of them really, I didn't go anywhere. And I would just kind of go on there every now and then, and sometimes I would use the friend side, like looking for a female friend side, like I said, and made a couple of female friends that way too. One of them I actually did travel with. We actually did a bus ride to Montreal. And again, life circumstances, we don't talk anymore, but at the time it was cool. We hung out, and I was on there and on the classified section, and I had found an ad, and I wish I still had it. I think I actually deleted it out of my email inbox, which is so sad. But I was somebody, and his age, like I never really dated anybody like that was way older. I think I always stayed about 4 years older, so he must have been in around that same age range. And there was a picture of him, but the picture was from the side, and all I could tell was a little bit grainy, just a little bit. I mean, keep in mind, this is 10 years ago. This is when like selfies were first starting to happen. Like, it's bear with us, okay? It was a little bit grainy. It looked like it was in a basement and kind of shot off of a laptop even. For those of you that, were around during like the MySpace and High Five times, sometimes the pictures weren't 100% clear unless you had a digital camera. So all I can tell from the picture was that it was someone that was lighter skinned and had braids, like cornrows going back. And at the time, I will say that I wasn't really looking to talk to anybody that fit that look. Okay, someone with lighter skin with hair, because at the time there was a stereotype that those guys that had that look were players, and that they weren't looking for anything serious. I know, so stupid. And at the same time, me being of a darker skin, I just found that light-skinned guys didn't like me. I'm gonna be honest. I just felt like they would prefer a light-skinned girl or someone who was exotic looking. I just felt like as a darker skinned, someone of African descent, that I just wasn't desired by them. So it made me avoid them too. And yeah, so it was a lighter skinned fellow with braids, and I was just like, And I'm like, you know what? let me not play into the stereotype, because I'm like, he could be a very nice person. So, and I'm like, the worst that he's gonna say is no, or just not respond, right? And there's no shame there. When it comes to being online, I feel no ways about being rejected, because I don't know this person. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't bother me. I'm just taking a chance. So I believe I reached out first and messaged and just said, hey, whatever. And I got a response. And I was like, oh my goodness, wow. Like, here it is. All my fears of not being desired, just, here I am. So we exchanged a couple of emails back and forth. I don't remember the details of the email, but I know we did agree to meet up. And at the time, I did not have my own car, but my mom did. And if she wasn't working, I had access to her car. So it was either a Saturday or Sunday. It definitely was a weekend day, and it was the summertime. And I remember we had agreed to meet up a little bit east of our downtown area. I'm in Toronto, so a little bit east of downtown Toronto. And from where my mom lives in Brampton, it was gonna take me like 45 minutes, an hour to get there, because the summer, during the day, like, traffic is crazy on the highway. But I was like, okay, let's go. And so, he said we should meet in a parking lot, and then we were gonna go and just find somewhere to sit and eat. And if you're familiar with Toronto, the area was like the Danforth, so he wanted to meet up in the Danforth area. So I said, okay. And he's like, how will I know it's you when I spot you? And I'm like, I'll be wearing an NY hat. Well, I said I'd be wearing a hat, and he said it's an NY, and I was like, yeah. And he's like, how did I know? So I'm like, oh, lucky guess, whatever. So I don't even know if I told anybody I was gonna go meet them, but I got all excited. I hopped in the car, drove the 45 minutes or whatever all the way down to the Toronto downtown, or past downtown Toronto, and parked in the parking lot that we had agreed to park in. And so I'm expecting, a light-skinned guy with braids. And I'm just in my car, and I'm just looking, and because he's like, oh, I'm here, and I'm looking, and I'm just like, I don't see anybody. So I like checking, my texts on my phone. And it's funny because back then too, I don't even think I had a data plan on my phone. Back then it wasn't really necessary. The apps we have now, social media, wasn't, bumping like that. But yeah, so I'm looking at my phone, and I'm just like, I don't see him. So I go to call, and then the person that I see takes out their phone, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I think I literally turned my head, because the person that was walking towards me in the parking lot was nothing like the picture. Okay, not even close, like the complete opposite. So I'm gonna see if I can find a picture to like describe the contrast of what I was seeing. Like, I don't even know the light skin, like who he looks like, but the person that was in front of me looks like, oh my god, I don't remember his name. Tommy, his real name is Tommy something, the guy from the Jamie Foxx show, right? Yes, the one that was Jamie's friend in the show. So the darker bald-headed guy. But that is who this person in front of me looked like. Now, he was tall, relatively tall, but and his face, he didn't have the same facial features as the actor I'm talking about, but in terms of skin complexion and the baldness, that it was him. That was the guy. So I see a dark-skinned man in front of me with a bald head who looks a lot older than the 23, 24, 25. I don't think he said 25, the 23 or 24-year-old that I was expecting. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, and I'm like, I've been catfished. Like, not even a little bit catfished, like a whole lot, like the complete opposite. So, and then, me being me, and I just want to go on record and say that I'm not a colorist. It didn't have anything to do with him being dark skin or bald or both, because I've dated dark skin guys, I've dated bald guys, I've dated dark skin guys who are bald, so I don't discriminate. But it was just the fact that I was so taken aback. But I'm like, okay, you know what? We're here. I'm going to keep an open mind. Let's go. So we went to a dessert place, and I got like a sundae, and the conversation, and I think a part of me was just so bothered and taken aback by the blatant lie that I just couldn't even get into it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I don't know if he was a nice person or not. I just couldn't get past the fact that he had lied about who he was, and that I'm sitting here and I'm catfished. And to make things worse, as I'm sitting in this cafe dessert place, I see someone I know from high school, a guy that I know from high school. Nothing really between us, but I don't even want to say dated. I don't know. I had gone out with his friend once before. So, then that didn't work out. So to see him walking by with, you know, a woman, I don't know if that was his girlfriend or whatever, but to see him walking by and him literally making eye contact with me and see me sitting here with someone who was at least 10 years older than me, I was just like, oh my goodness. I'm like, this is so embarrassing, because I'm like, he's probably gonna run back and tell people, oh yeah, I saw Justina with, like, you know, some dude. And you know, and at the time, like, now I wouldn't even care, but being in my early 20s, you know, I'm like, oh my god, I have an image and a reputation to uphold. So at that point I was just like, no. I'm like, if I feel embarrassed to even be out with him now with someone who I haven't seen in years, someone from high school, this isn't gonna work. And I'm like, I just knew that it's because the foundation of whatever this could have been started off with a big fat lie. So, you know, he paid for the ice cream. I should have even at the time paid for it. And I was also upset because I paid for parking, okay? I had to pay for public parking on top of gas. And then anytime I took her car, she wanted me to fill it up more than what it was before, which fine, whatever. I'm not gonna bring it back empty. But anyways, so, you know, my little broke university self had to find the money to pay for all that, pay for gas and pay for parking. And I wasn't broke, I'm just saying that. But I wasn't rich either. But yeah, so, you know, and I think he wanted like a hug or something. Mind you, this is like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I can't remember I even gave him a hug. And I sat in my car after and I was just like, I literally said out loud, oh my god, I've been catfished. And I was like, I've actually been catfished. And I think I cried and laughed at the same time, because I'm like, how did this even happen? And I'm like, I'm always laughing at people about being catfished and how do you get catfished? And I became one of them. I'm someone that was catfished. So I did message him after, and I said, you know, thank you for the ice cream. And I don't remember if I initiated the whole conversation about the catfish or if he said something about meeting up again. But basically I did. I spoke my mind, because at first I wasn't going to say anything. But even back then, before ghosting was a term, I'm like, I'm not going to ghost him. I'm not the type of person. I want to at least give him an explanation, and then that way, so that he should feel embarrassed and ashamed and won't do it again. So I just let him know. I said, honestly, like, I can't entertain this anymore. Like, it has to end here because, you know, you lied. And he was just arguing with me. Like, he was just so adamant about it not being a lie, and that if he had actually sent me his real picture, would I have even bothered going out with him? And it just goes to show that women are superficial and you only care about looks, because when you thought I was light skinned, you were ready to go out with me, but because I'm dark skinned, I said, it has nothing to do with the skin complexion. And I get it. Maybe he's also experienced that in the past, so I'm not going to take that away from him. You know, he's entitled to feel that way. But I mean, I'm entitled to feel the way I feel too. And if this started off as a lie, number one, okay, that's just number one. It started off as a lie. I don't owe you anything. I have to move forward. And number two, you just, like, you looked a lot older. And, you know, some women are into that, and, you know, that's good for them. But for me personally, I just did not feel comfortable being with someone that much older than me. And that was just me. I couldn't do it. And I don't even know how old he was, to be honest. I didn't even end up asking him, because I think my mind was already made up. And he could have been younger. Maybe he just looked older. But everything about the way he moved and the way he carried himself, I just knew he was older. There was no way he was 22 or 23. And at the age of 21 or 22, I was not going to be talking to a 35-year-old. That just was not happening. So, which is funny, because I said I didn't want to be married and have kids by 25, and someone who's in their 30s probably wants the same thing, but that's here nor there. Of course, my young 20-year-old mind just, you know, it was a different person back then. But yeah, so and then I felt almost guilty, because I'm like, am I guilty of judging him based on his looks? But I was like, no, buddy, like, you catfished me. And I don't know if that's worked for him in the past. And, you know, and I think even if the roles were reversed and I was sent a picture of a dark-skinned person, and when I met up and I was light-skinned guy with braids, it would have been the same thing, because it's like, why are you lying? Like, you're being dishonest from the very beginning, and that just doesn't sit right with me. So yeah, I'm not proud of it, but that's the story. And needless to say, ever since then, well, I shouldn't say ever since then, but after that, if I was talking to anybody, I think I actually gave up on Craigslist after that, to be honest, because I think I was just so like scarred from it, because I was just like, oh my god, like, you know, people could be out here really lying, or not could be, they are out here lying. So I think I gave up on Craigslist after that. And then, you know, Tinder came around, and then with Tinder, you had to link it to, I think, a social media app you already had. So it was a little bit more secure in the sense that whatever pictures were up there, probably there was a greater chance that it did belong to who they said they were. And then that's when I got into my detective skills. Because, you know, after a few messages, I'd be like, okay, what's your number? And then I would reverse search numbers on Facebook or type them into WhatsApp and see their display picture would come up. I'm not proud of it, but I gotta protect myself. Like, come on, I'm a woman. Anyone could be out there pretending to be someone they're not. And I didn't want to get catfished again. That was so embarrassing. It really was. So that is my story. It didn't happen again. I'll tell you that much. I mean, not looks wise. People lie about who they are, where they work, what they do, whether they have significant other or not, all the time. Obviously isn't catfishing, that's just being dishonest. But I wasn't catfished again after that. I was a lot more careful. So a lot of times, I think even after that, I don't remember what site I was using, but after that, I would just be like, okay, let's FaceTime, let's video call, let's something. Like, send me a picture with a spoon on your nose, pointing at your forehead, just something crazy and wacky, so I would know it's the person. I don't think I ever did that spoon thing, but someone did ask me. They told me to send a picture of me touching my nose and my forehead at the same time, or something weird like that. And I was just like, okay. And then there was another time, I had this, you know, this, let me just throw this all in here. There was another time where I did actually video call somebody. I can't remember, I think it was on FaceTime. And he literally had like a hood on and had it like, the had the hood of the hoodie like all the way up, and then was wearing sunglasses, so all I could literally see was his forehead. And I was like, what the heck? And I was like, can I like see your face? And I think he said that something was wrong with his eyes, he just had surgery or something. I mean, it could be true. I'm not gonna say it's not, but then this shouldn't be your priority. Your priority should be healing, right? Like, go lay down and heal. And I don't know what the hood covering the mouth had to do with it, but I think after that's when I'm just like, okay, this is too weird, it's getting too creepy, and I just gave up on Craigslist and just the actual websites and moved to dating apps a few years later. But yeah, that's the story of how I got catfished. If you've been catfished before, please don't let me be the only one that's sharing. Put it in the comments below. I want to know if anyone's had the same experience or something similar. Don't let me be the only one, please. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe. I promise I have more story times. I have a lot more that are so entertaining. So make sure you subscribe.